EY has like a coaching program for new parents. So when you come back from a parental leave, like you typically will get assigned.
So I know that as a manager, you are also responsible for training staffs as well and managing staffs as well. And a lot of staffs may reaching out to you, not just like staff, but like seniors, supervisor, or other maybe managers at the same level may reach out to you for some questions. How do you create a focus time for you to develop technical skills and also to get the job done?
That's a very good question. I feel like I learned that later on in my career, like blocking my calendar for a certain amount of time. It's just like this is my focus time that I need to actually either do some deep thinking, some deep work, or like do a specific amount of work without distractions.
So I'm just wondering if you can share some tips and advice when you manage staffs that have like difficult time to get the job done properly or difficult time to keep the job organized.
And I think that's a great question because I think that happens to everyone. It happens to the best of us. Like sometimes just starting a new job can be overwhelming and you have the added pressure of you see your peers and you think, oh, well, I'm not performing like my peers. And then you start putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
When you say asking question, a lot of people afraid of asking questions because they feel like they don't want to ask dumb questions. Even we say that no questions are dumb, just keep asking. And I always tell staff that because you are new, we don't have any expectations on you at all. So just
Right.
ask anything and we will
Yeah.
answer all your questions for you. If you don't ask A1, and then when you go to A2 and you ask the questions that you wish you should have asked as A1, that's when you are in trouble because now you move up to A2 and then we have some expectation on you. So for people like that, what is the best approach to them to encourage them to ask more questions?
Just also think about like what are you asking about really? Like is that something that maybe your peers could like help you with? Is that something that maybe you could do a little bit of research and have a few options? Like say, okay, hey, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. I looked up, I did some research internally, and these are the things I think might work.
Exactly. And also when you come to the question and maybe you can ask how to do the right research next time. That could be another question at the end of asking your original question. So next time when some kind of similar question came out, you know exactly how to do the right research because I know in tax, research is such a huge key in tax because you have to do a lot of tax regulation, rules research about all different kind of experience, all different kind of situations that you have with the client. I like how you advise staff that do some research that's super, super helpful. Come
Yeah,
up
and
with your preparation.
yeah, and one thing I'll add as well is like as you ask the question and you learn from it, like also think through like how did this person actually answer the question for you, or how did they point you in the right direction, so that way you can use that as a guideline for the next time that you have a similar question, similar to what you're saying. Just thinking through like in the future.
As a tax manager for about 3 years and you got promoted to a tax senior manager, what's the difference between a manager and senior manager role at this point in your career?
Yeah, I would say city manager, it's you're doing a lot of the same things as a manager, and then you're now doing a lot of like trying to see how you can grow the business and like bring in more work and provide more services you aren't currently provided. So I would say it's very similar, but now you have a little bit more experience because you've spent all those years as a manager.
So it's looked like when you just got to a tax senior manager, you had your baby. Because I was thinking like 3 years in the tax senior manager, your baby is about 3 years old now. So it's that timeline. Oh my God, how could you manage your energy, your balance when you just had a newborn baby and then got promoted to the senior manager?
Yeah, so I got promoted once I just had my daughter. Yeah, you're right with the timeline. And so when I came back to work after maternity leave, I just remember thinking, "Oh my God, like I can't work the same way that I used to work." Cuz like I remember when I was like from staff up until manager, like I didn't really care like if I had extra work and like I needed to work extra long hours and work all the way to the night and work super long. Like I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll like no one can outwork me. I can work the hours. Like I don't really care. I can work, but like because I wasn't really responsible for anyone else except myself. But now that I have a daughter, who has an expectation that I need to take care of. I need to pick her up from school. I need to make sure she's fed and things like that.
Did you reach out to other people to ask for some guidance, tips, and advice during that struggle time?
It's interesting because EY has like a coaching program for new parents. So when you come back from a parental leave, like you typically would get assigned like a coach who helps you with thinking through the best way to operate now as a parent who's also a working parent.
Next question for you is about work-life balance, because you say that you have to use the time intentionally. When you're at work, you work. When you're at home taking care of your daughter, you are a mom, you're not a task manager, all left behind at work. So now when you're talking about work-life balance, do you feel like you have a good balance at this point after 3 years?
I think I really do have good balance. It comes with just knowing that when I'm at work, I do my work very well. I serve my clients very well. I serve the partners that I work for very well. And so when I'm out of work, I don't feel any guilt of not working.
That's amazing. I like how you mentioned about trust. It takes a long time to build trust with your team. So can you share with me some tips and advice in your career, what you have done to build trust within your organization, within your team?
Yeah, I would say trust comes with just consistently delivering on your word, right? So if you tell someone today, hey, I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z, and I'll get it to you by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, like actually get it to them by 5 p.m. on Tuesday and actually deliver good work product.
When you do the time audit, did you actually write down every single thing you do in one day, or you have to have a period of time like in 1 week or like in 2 weeks to see that what is how you should use your time more efficiently and more effectively?
So when I do a time audit, the way I typically approach it is I start out with what would be an ideal for me. Like when I look at 7 days in a week, 24 hours a day, so that's 7 times 24, which I believe is 166. But let me check my math because I still use the calculator for everything. 24 times 7. Yeah, 168 hours. So when I say, okay, I have 168 hours in a week, and I've actually done this.
Where do you find time for yourself, for self-care? Where do you find time to do something you enjoy, to relax, like for your hobbies?
And I think that's also important to me. Like self-care is something that I prioritize. Like working out is something I prioritize. Eating well is something I prioritize. And so in that calendar, it's in there.
We're going through a lot of milestones in your career, a lot of tips and advice that you provide throughout your career. I'm just curious if you can give some tips and advice for yourself 10 years ago or 11 years ago when you start this career. What would you advise yourself?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. So if I were to go back to myself 11 years ago, starting my career, I would just say this career has a lot to offer you. There's a lot of learning opportunities, a lot of like people who will pour into your career, who will develop and mentor you.
Sharon, we talk so much about this career tips and advice now. Now I would like to know something fun fact about yourself that people typically don't know about.
What's a fun fact? I feel like I shared it. So like really into like wellnessy type things. So I feel like if I had all the time in the world, I usually spend my free time reading books about like health and wellness, like working out, how to eat better, how to exercise better, how to live your life to be more optimal, to just be more healthy, and skincare and like things like that really interest me. And so that's something I like to do for fun.
That's amazing. And what was the last time you and your daughter were doing something fun together?
When was the last time we did something fun together? I think flying to Texas was fun for her. She loves getting on the plane. And so usually when I travel with her, I don't tell her we're traveling until the night before. Because I feel like if I tell her any earlier, she will keep asking me, are we going tomorrow? Are we going tomorrow? Are we going tomorrow? And so usually like whenever I have to travel or fly with her, I just tell her the night before, hey, by the way, tomorrow we're getting on a plane.